Welcome everyone to the Locad Industry Interview Series, now at the second edition of this series, where we can have weekly conversations with operators and leaders shaping the e-commerce and retail across Middle East. I am Dario Lator, the Regional Director for Locad in the GCC, and today I'm joined by someone who spent years and actually decades at the helm of some of this region's biggest retail groups. Simon Smith, Managing Director of Clara Group. It's great to have you and welcome to today's chat.
Thank you. Thank you, Dario.
Amazing. Why don't we start a bit about all this experience, right? So you've been in the region for some time. You built yourself a career in the retail space since the mid-80s, spanning over, remarkable names like Landmark, GMG, and now Clara, right? Can you start telling a bit about your journey? Very interesting to hear the evolution and the choices in this journey and what brought you eventually to Dubai.
Okay. My journey is diverse and different. I've actually lived in 10 different countries, starting in Turkey. Well, I started in the UK. I was a young manager and trainee for Marks and Spencer's. So I learned my retailing ropes working for them. And actually during my time there, I was running food stores and non-food stores. And they then approached me and said, would I go to Turkey and set up the operations there? So I moved over to Istanbul and I started to set things up. We opened 5 stores while I was there. I was there for a few years. I was there for 2 years in Turkey, working for Marks and Spencer's. And you can imagine coming from the UK into Turkey, this was 1996. It was a very different world in those days. Obviously, there was no AI and actually almost no internet. So things were honestly almost prehistoric. But things evolved and I left Marks and Spencer's to be the first retail director for LC Waikiki. They just bought the brand rights from a French company, and they were looking to somebody to professionalize their retail business across Turkey. So I started my journey with them. It was a mixture of shop-in-shops, separate franchise stores, and then we built our own retail business, starting by building a team and a store identity, which actually is not so different today to the identity we built then. So it's very, very similar. I worked for those guys almost for 2 years. And actually, if it hadn't been for the earthquake in Turkey in 1999, I would have not left. It was quite a challenging environment. I had to sleep with my 3 children in a car one night. I remember it very vividly because of you really didn't know what to expect. And after that, I decided it was time to move on and do something else. So I went to work for Tesco's, managing hypermarkets in Eastern Europe. And Slovakia at that time, I was working in Bratislava. We opened the biggest non-stop retailing operation at the time. I had 12,000 square meters of selling space. I had a strip mall which I had to manage, and it was like the Wild West because I had 350 suppliers delivering to my back door. There was no consolidated distribution. It was all supplier to store. Very different to what it is today. And we were ordering on fax machines and emails. So it was very dated. But we had a combination of hard lines, clothing, ambient, fresh foods. And my biggest competitor was Carrefour. And we opened a store right across the road from them. So it was war from day one. So very competitive, pricing, promotions. You were on it 24/7, and the store was open 24 hours. So it was a non-stop opportunity. From there, I moved to Prague, where I was managing their marketing for the hypermarkets across Czech and Slovakia. And at that point, promotions were the biggest point of difference in the chain. So we were doing around 12% of our business on promotions at the time, and we wanted to move to 18. So I built a cross-functional team where we addressed all of the shortfalls of what we were doing and built an 18-month rolling plan with the suppliers, the marketing, and the operational team. So when we executed on the day, we were able to deliver amazing execution with some great offers. And we built an awful lot of theatre, a lot of suppliers, competition, and support. And we moved our numbers to 18%. So from then on, they said, right, we've got this going. We want you to move to Hungary. So from Hungary, I then went to set up another cross-functional team to manage this arbitrary prehistoric ordering system. So we built an automated ordering system. So we built a forecast model. We're building different IT systems to make it work. So again, working with different functionalities, different teams to drive a more coherent and efficient way of operating. From then on, automatic ordering through suppliers happened, and central consolidation of product. So I did that. I then moved to Germany, where I went to do something completely different, where I was managing a catering, leisure, and retail business for the British Army. So I fed 22,000 British troops a day. I managed 65 retail outlets, 25 pubs, did the catering and cleaning for schools. So it was extremely diverse. I even did golf clubs, bowling alleys, fish and chip shops, you name it, I had it. So it was a diverse business. I did that for 4 years. I also did a master's degree on retail while I was doing it, distance learning with Stirling University in Scotland. From then on, I left Germany and moved to India for 2 years, where I went to manage an Indian men's fashion business. And that was very different. You can well imagine. Culturally, it was very different. And also... And just the way things were done, getting about supply chains, everything was extremely challenging. So during that trying time, the crisis of 2008 happened. So I left managing one brand to manage sort of 7 or 8 for the group. And my role became more of as advisor on all of the retail industry for the group and all of the brands. At the end of my second year there, Marks and Spencer's approached me and said, we want you to come back and run our business in Eastern Europe. So I did, because at that time, my mum was not so well. So Eastern Europe Prague was an hour away from mum, whereas Bangalore was 12 hours. So I did it really more of it was a personal decision. And then, so I did that. But honestly, at that point, Marks and Spencer's hadn't changed much from when I worked for them before, but Simon Smith had changed a lot. So 10 months into that role, I was approached by Adidas to be the global vice president for their retail business. So in 2010, November, I went to be the global VP for Adi. And then I spent 3 amazing years in head office, setting up global principles, operations, training, store concepts, design, building teams globally. I visited almost every country in the world, I think, while I was doing the job. And had an amazing time. And actually, you'd be surprised at that point how poor the retail infrastructure was at somebody like Adi. But we soon accelerated it and took it to new heights. I then went to Russia, working for Adi. They had 1,200 stores. It was the biggest retail business they had. So I moved to Russia and lived in Moscow for 3 years. You can imagine working in Russia, you've got 12 time zones. So when I was going to work in the morning, some stores were closing the other side of the country. So the dynamics were fascinating, but a real experience. And And in that time, I was managing Adidas Performance, Originals, Adidas Neo, Adidas Children's, Reebok Kids, and I had a huge factory outlet business. And actually, all of Russia was an amazing challenge. And actually, things were great until the war in Crimea happened, when the devaluation of the currency affected lots of things. And from then on, really, the Russian Adidas business just declined. And as it was declining, I had a decision to make. Do I stay in Adi? But I was offered a job as a chief operating officer to be the fashion manager for a brand called Forever New in Australia. And I decided I would go down under. So I went to live in Melbourne, running this ladies fashion business there. And also, probably in all my cities I've lived in, probably Melbourne is still my favorite. It's got amazing sports facilities, just amazing lifestyle and great eateries, but also the culture was very, very good. I did that for 18 months, almost 2 years. And then Landmark called me. And actually, to be honest with you, Australia was amazing, but I have 3 sons, and it was proven very difficult to keep connected with them. So at that point, I made a decision to move to Dubai because I knew I would be closer, and they could come and see me much easier, and I could see them. So I went to work for Landmark Group. First of all, I was COO for Max Fashion, which I did for 21 months. We did an awful lot in that time. The business was hemorrhaging money in Saudi Arabia at that time, and we quickly fixed our ladies fashion business, our lingerie and our beauty business. We put it at the front of the stores, and we really drove. And by the end of, in October, we were minus 18. By the end of the financial year, we moved from minus 18 to plus 5. And honestly, it was a great journey and good fun. We turned the stores around and put new concepts in, and drove a whole different feel to the brand. And then Renuka Jatdiani asked me to come and do Centrepoint, which is 6.5 million square feet, almost $3 billion US. And huge challenge. So worked through Centrepoint, driving lots of efficiencies. I actually won Store of the Year once, and I won Omni Retailer of the Year twice for Centrepoint. And this was really the challenge of COVID brought out the whole Omni feel and how we adapted and delivered the changes we were awarded for, because it was significant. Now you look back and think some of the things we did we do it every day now, but then it was really pioneering. We tested lots of different things. And after 3 years of CP, I went to work for GMG, where I was senior VP of all of their sports brands. I did that for just about a year when Clara approached me, and I went to work for very different because I never managed a single brand in its early days to drive it and build something really, really credible. I've always worked for big companies, but this is almost starting something from new and trying to drive something globally. And obviously, it's quite ironic I don't have any hair, so hair devices and me aren't certainly a match made in heaven. But honestly, the brand is going from strength to strength. We've launched in the UK, and with Boots, with Debenhams now in the UK, and Superdrug, and Amazon, and we're extending to Look Fantastic and maybe Marks and Spencer's as well. So things are beginning to move, and we're progressing.
Fantastic. What an exciting journey. We'll connect on this and speak a bit more about Clara in a while. A definitely impressive journey. I kind of relate in a lot of things that you're saying, even though I am in a slightly different stage of my life and my career. But I could say that I have also traveled and lived in a few countries, mostly across Asia as well. So And in a brief, is like I started in those years where the e-com marketplaces were actually booming at the beginning of 2010s, and actually moved all the way to the Philippines, actually Malaysia, Singapore first, then Philippines, setting up marketplace and e-commerce in that area where was already a proof of concept which was Zalando in Europe, right? And trying to replicate the same model into Southeast Asia, but of course with very different infrastructure, with very different macroeconomics and everything. So basically building the e-commerce ecosystem from scratch. So actually, my path is somehow a bit different, right? In a way that, of course, was digital first, but at the same time, I believe also the kind of stage of a company. Right now, you are in Clara, where you are kind of taking a new journey, a new brand, new heights, and that was a bit what was like the whole like a story of what I have been building as well. First with Zalora, and then moving into. I had moved to China in 2017. I had my own fashion brand from design to manufacturing to sales, build all the processes and the e-com. Then exited that business and then joined Jumia as a chief commercial officer doing B2C e-commerce export from China to Africa. Started when I took the business, was into 4 countries and a couple of dozens of $1 million, expanded 5 to 6 times into 10, 11 countries. Then after that, I moved into Alibaba managing subcontinent. So again, China to subcontinent, specifically Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Nepal. Yeah, so I probably live in 6 countries and business in more than 20 most emerging markets, and as well had a lot of fun, a lot of learnings, a lot of new things every single day. I have to say, so I've been blessed by this and the continuous journey. Of course, after Alibaba, I've joined Locad, and now I am managing the expansion of Locad, which is a Singaporean headquarter for PL, supporting the business in expansion, e-commerce fulfillment brands in the Middle East region. So that's actually where we get to know each other, and where we can actually support Clara into their international expansion, making sure that the customer experience that the customer's brands deserve is delivered. So exciting to start this journey together. But yeah, why don't you tell us a bit about Clara, more about what you're building, what's the gap that you find in the market of for this brand, and why this brand is so successful and really conquering the region in its domain?
I think the major advantage which Clara has is it offers something which is needed. So most device companies look at a commercial entity and a product to service everybody. What we're looking at is the may sound a pun, but the root cause of what is required, and we're then developing product to try and solve those issues. So all of our product is engineered to support hair challenges from around the world, because every continent has a different type of hair texture. So this is what we're doing. But not only do we do it with innovation, with thinking about the consumer, we are doing it with the same technology as the other major brands are. So we're doing it significantly more affordable. So in that sense, our reach is far greater. And we are seeing both now in the early days in the UK, once you get brand knowledge and awareness and people start to know you, because we are very affordable, aspirational in some markets still, but we're not the same prices of Shark, Dyson or DHD. We're significantly more affordable than they are. So this is, when you look at the market, you have sort of us with technology and really affordable. Then you have the higher end, which is with technology but much more expensive. And then you have sort of the lower end who are much more volume driven, like Babylas, for example, albeit Babylas are driving now some more expensive products. But within our remit, we are offering amazing value for what and the quality they're getting. So this makes us stand out in the crowd, to be honest. And the same with our wet products. It's also made in Italy. It's amazing soft touch packaging. Looks amazing. And it is amazing. Whenever I've met the buyers in all of the brands in the UK, I met the buyer of beauty for M&S. She was blown away by the product and the texture and the smell. So everybody's loving it. Our pricing is exactly the same. It's affordable and stuff you can use every day.
So I'm gonna ask a tricky question: what is most important, the marketing or the product itself?
Well, without good product, it doesn't work. That's for sure. But we do, and actually, most of our marketing in the Middle East is done via UCG, right? So user-generated content, and they are talking about our product. So they are giving us the reach. And if it wasn't good, they wouldn't do it. So they're all loving it, and we have thousands of videos on stream all of the time of UGC content, which people are just creating and working on it for us. So both work hand in hand. But when you are starting a market, when you are moving like the UK, where there's no brand awareness, marketing is very important. And it's not something, you know, Clara was started in Saudi Arabia during COVID, right? And during COVID, it was a lot easier, particularly in the market where there was less competition, because everybody was at home and shopping. Whereas now, the UK market is saturated with amazing brands. And so brand awareness is critical, but we are slowly but surely, we are now, every day we're seeing incremental growth and things moving. We just signed.
Sorry. No, I'm saying definitely your experience in a traditional retail and you being from the UK definitely will help, you know, to be in the right storefronts, right? I mean, the brand awareness, is definitely something that gives a lot of, you know, reassurance to the consumers, and like, you know, it's good if you are seen into the biggest you know, offline retail outlets. It gives you a lot of respect, right? So what is the importance in this strategy for launching a brand online versus offline, right? I mean, I know that of course Clara is born in a digital native area, and of course online it's a very big part of it, right? But what is your opinion on balancing these two sides and how they complement each other into a omni-channel retail strategy?
To people, I mean, online is obviously the fastest way in the first phase. So when you can get onto Amazon, Boots, where you see the major beauty traffic numbers are on these sites: Superdrug, Debenhams, Boots, and Amazon, which is where we target and where we are. So we're building awareness there. And we've just signed to open a store in Westfield Mall in London. And I think that will give us greater visibility. They get 35 million visitors a year. So that will give us greater visibility, and there's good spending power. So that will give us some great visibility there. And we are also then doing a roadshow in May this year, the end of May, where we're hitting 4 key cities in the UK, where I'm physically saying, you give me your old device, I'll give you a new one. Oh, right? Wow. So because we need people to use the product and understand how good it is. And if you believe in the product, then this type of approach works. I did it once with Adidas. I did it in Adidas once.
Old products? What are you going to do with your old products?
With their old products. No, the other brands. We will throw them.
Okay.
So they will give me, let's say, a Babylass or a GHD. They'll give me their old one. We will throw them, and we'll give them a new Clara one.
All right.
But the secret is, you will have a QR code. You will scan it, and then you will give that to 10 of your friends, and we will give them discount on their first purchase.
Yeah, this strategy actually of micro-influencing or user-generated content, as I've seen it work with a lot of fashion brands or other brands similar in this beauty segment also in the past years. So it's definitely a very interesting way of marketing, and a lot of times has proven to be successful, and definitely it's working for Clara. So very exciting. So yeah, I mean, we know your numbers also in the region in the GCC are growing year over year. The brand is getting really admired and respected by a lot of people in the region, which is exciting.
I'll just put that into context, right? We just had our biggest ever Ramadan. We blew away numbers, were incredible. And we've become one of Namsh's top 10 retailers, one of their top 10 retailers here in the region, just by our performance. And, you know, and a few years ago, we weren't heard of, but now we're in their top 10 of brands. So significant growth.
Congratulations on this. I think it's definitely important, and Namshi is definitely very fashion forward and a respectable platform in the region. So it has a lot of the fashionistas and people that are really mindful of the trends and things. So it's definitely the right place to be first and be top of mind for the category. Let's say that these numbers are growing, and you need more stock, right? I mean, and now
we do. I just left the meeting on stock. Actually, I just left the meeting on stock.
Yeah. So retail. I mean, you'll teach me. I mean, if you don't have stock to sell, you can grow your numbers, right? And then a lot of challenges into the planning, going to that, and then of course the longer the cycle to produce and then ship the products, the higher the complexity and uncertainty into it, right? So to contextualize it to today's days, right? So what is actually happening, in the region, right? I mean, it's definitely one of the major disruptions of the decade so far, right, after COVID, right? So what are actually the challenge, the practical challenges that you're facing, right? I don't know, is it production delays, is it shipping, are you already out of stock? What are the challenges that you are navigating practically on day by day? And then afterwards, is the impact on sales already there, or when do you think that this will hit?
I think our impact on sales has come from us smashing our numbers, because we surpassed what we thought we were going to do. So when you do that, then clearly there will always be some stock issues. So a couple of things. We have shipped some stock direct from China to the UAE, and we have seen, I wouldn't say drastic delays, but we have seen delays of up to a week trying to get it through. But we stocked up well in advance before with a lot of things to try and maximize peak. And honestly, on some of the lines we did sell out of. But Saudi, we're also moving, because there's no disruption, or hasn't been yet so far, to our supply chain into Saudi. So we've been airlifting product into Saudi, because they've had some massive numbers. So what we've been short of, we've been shipping by road from Riyadh to Dubai. So I would say we've missed a few. I would say we've missed a few. I would also say that when Amazon was hit, We struggled a bit because the Amazon numbers dropped here. They had some data center hit during the first few days of the war. So we lost some money with them, but Namshi and Noon picked it up, and we've now launched with Mum's World, with Carrefour and Trendyol, and we are now firing on all fronts across all of these vehicles. So I think at the moment we're mitigating it by our route from Saudi, which is our safety net. It's a bit more expensive because it comes from China to Saudi than to us. So it's a bit more expensive, but it still allows us to have product.
Yeah, so safety first, second, business continuity, and third, of course, the impact on optimization and re-optimization after the, of course, the shock, right? But yeah, I mean, this brings me to another very important point in supply chain design, which is definitely a topic I'm extremely passionate about, and I mean, both in B2C and in retail in general, right? So that's the important actually of having multiple fulfillment centers, right? So you can't in retail or in e-commerce like put all your inventory in one location and ship from one location globally. I don't think that this model it's sustainable and shock resistant and resilient enough, right? But actually the importance of having the stock close to your customers, you have the stock that is really like in multiple locations, serving multiple outlets and multiple sales channels. I think that this is really critical to have a very resilient supply chain. And then, of course, like being as well, like UAE and Saudi together, right? There is a lot that can be done to optimize within them, right? Of course, at the expense of it, right? So definitely multi-location fulfillment. It's definitely very important nowadays.
Yeah.
The other part is also the multi-channel part of it, right? I mean, today you cannot sell only one channel, right? I mean, as you mentioned, like in your experience, like you have to address different channels because maybe each channel is targeting different audiences, different type of consumers that you can still serve, right? But each channel has a specific customer, so right? So what is your opinion here in a multi-channel? I mean, I understand it is definitely very important, right? But do you still, how do you call it? You call it omni-channel, you call it still multi-channel? Like what is like the,
the true sense of omni is what I was doing with Landmark, and I was using all of my 6.5 million square feet as warehouses. So customers would then go there, pick up their product, right? And when they're in there, we would then try and get them to buy something else. So optimizing full omni journey, these are perfect. And I think with Clara, we'll have to also be the same. I think optimizing locations where customers can pick things up convenient for them will be something we have to build in the future for the US and for the UK, because this is the US particularly. This is quite a big thing, and we are venturing into kiosks because I want to be more visible, and therefore we can then use kiosks as omni. So, but at the moment, it's driven through multifaceted online platforms where we know they are already receiving an awful lot of traffic. So then it's about the relationship with these platforms to maximize your return and build the relationship needs to be important so you can build a foundation and a good business strategy with the individual ones. Different ones will give you different types of the market. But when it comes to hair devices, we're selling to 15, 16-year-olds and we're selling to 50-year-olds. But our audience, primary target audience, is probably in the middle of somewhere. But yes, for sure. And actually, for me, one of the critical pieces is the last mile. Because if your last mile doesn't work properly, then it doesn't work. because this is one of the most critical factors of a business working. This is where you can really upset customers.
Absolutely, that's the real interaction for ecom. That's definitely the interaction, at least the most visible one with the product, right? The first, right? So, how do you ensure that customers get the best last mile experience then?
Picking the right partners.
Right.
Partners who have the capacity to do it.
Okay, and what do you look at while selecting partners for this?
I think, what we looked at with you guys is your growth, reviews, your locations, speaking to you for over a year, and really getting to know. A relationship is important. We've been through the review. We know where your locations are. We see nothing but when you review and you do your due diligence on all of these elements, then you are going to pick the right partner.
Yes.
And that competency can be expressed verbally, but it's really expressed by what people are saying about you. And when you go through that and then you see the scope of expansion, the investment which has gone in, and you review all of the components, then you can really see who the credible partners are. We've had some bad experiences with partners. So once you've been bitten, you don't want to be bitten again. So you learn and you move forward.
Maybe they weren't real partners, right? I mean, I remember discussing it multiple times, this, right? But the importance is, how much do we invest in a relationship, right? So true partner is like, someone that is not only looking at, the own side of it, right? But is okay, how do we help each other to grow, right? And the fun thing is also like we are in a very similar stage of this journey, like Locad was founded in 2020 August, and similar times as Clara actually, and we are in the similar journey in terms of expansion, right? So that's exactly where it's our real core DNA to support.
I can also say, we've had various conversations, and we can speak on a Monday to have a meeting with you. Actually, it was you, and you are in the office. You are at our office the following morning before we're there. We meet you outside the office for a meeting. So it is about but it also is about desire. It's about the drive to want it, and if you have that from both sides, then you can provide a winning formula.
Yeah, I mean, and also it's all about this trust, accountability, and because this actually it's very important when things go south, right? Because logistics is not magic; it's not like science at 100% guaranteed, right? There is always that 0.01, or those numbers that are could be 1% depending on what KPI you're looking, right? But it's you can't be always 100%. Right? I mean, you strive for that, right? And you need to have the attitude to be excellent and improve on the other day, and that's in the DNA. But definitely, the most important thing is, okay, there's something that is wrong. I need to act on it fast. I am accountable for it, and I'm looking for a solution as fast as possible. That's also important because. Whatever also pisses you off as a customer, or both as a retail customer buying a product or as a B2B customer buying from a service provider. I mean, I'm talking about myself. It's something is wrong and no one is there to talk to, right? No one is there to solve the problems, right? And then you need to waste a lot of time, hours to understand what is going wrong. No one is picking the phone. You're speaking to a bot. You have these kind of things that still pisses you off even more, right?
Yeah, it does. The bot thing is excruciatingly painful.
Yeah, let's talk about opportunities, right? I mean, both our companies were like created in in a disruption moment, which was COVID, right? And then now we're going through some different challenges, right? But market shocks and challenges always create opportunities for those that are resilient enough, that are not giving up easily, right? So what do you think, like in this specific context, worldwide? I mean, you can talk about Dubai and the GCC, but potentially even broadly the entire globe. What do you think are some opportunities for Clara or for businesses at the moment?
I think the biggest thing which businesses really, and a lot of people do it very well, but it is honestly innovation. You cannot stand still. And we see it where for the first few years, Clara just drove 4 SKUs, and we had that, and then you saw the numbers drop off. We then pushed to drive some innovation, and as soon as you then start introducing a new product into the market every 3 or 4 months, you see a massive upturn in what the new product can deliver. And we have seen some fantastic numbers driven by the new innovative products we brought in. So innovation is critical, but and a lot of people, I used to work for Tesco's, and every time I did something, the Terry Leahy would say to me, "What did the customer tell you about that, Simon?" Everything Sir Terry did was customer driven. It might sound, a lot of people talk the talk, but actually there's an awful lot of people who don't listen. And so you drive the innovation, but you have to keep your finger on the pulse when it comes to what the customer is saying, what they're buying, and what they're telling you about your brand. And these things are, and you have to keep, the customer is important, and then you have to be fact-based. You need to say, look at what the data is telling you and make very clear fact-based decisions, not emotional decisions. Because it's very easy. You know what marketeers are like. Generally, they're all very emotional, want to do so many things, and the creativity is amazing. But then you have to sit down and look at what is the customer saying, what is the data saying, what direction do we need to go in, and how clear are we on? And sometimes you will make, it's like when you're innovating on a new product. We're just about to launch a brand new product, which will be, it's just launched in Saudi actually. And it was, we do a slim hot brush. All we've done with the slim hot brush, we made it a slim hot brush, but we've made it also, you can open it in the middle, it becomes a straightener. So 2-in-1. But we talked to customers about what they wanted. And they said, look, we want something we can travel, which will curl and straighten. Then we produced.
How do you talk to customer? How do you listen to customers specifically? Is it focus groups? Is it pure data?
It's both. It's both. It's focus groups and it's data. So we know what's selling, and we know through our UGC customer base what they want, what they like, what's working, what's not working. So you use the base and all of the infrastructure you've built up over the last few years with the UGC, with the sales, with what's happening around the world through innovation, and then you strike and you put together something which you believe will work. And I'll tell you, not all things work, but if you hedge your bets and you do the homework, then generally I think you can make it work.
Awesome. I think I'll just quickly, before wrapping up, I'll quickly go back to one point that struck me. Correct me if I misunderstood it, but you said that once you came back to Mark and Spencer after probably more than a decade.
Yes, it was.
That's almost 2 decades, right? Things were pretty much the same.
Right? Yes, they were, yeah.
I mean, I think that in today's competitive environment in the world, and with the tools and the things that we have, probably 2 decades without much innovation and change would be definitely stealing the total destruction of value for a company, right? So, would you see specifically in our industry, the retail or retail e-com in general, right? The journey of innovation, and what has been the change of speed and velocity into the innovation?
I think AI is significant. AI in marketing is significant in building content. Now you can put stuff into AI and ask for an opinion, and it doesn't always give you the right thing, but it instantly gives you a guide and makes you think. So I would say in the last 12 months, AI is becoming a significant driver in driving things quicker and streamlining. And you see what's happened in the big players with Amazon, with some of the social media giants, what they've done with their employee numbers, because they're using AI to drive efficiency. So for me, this is a huge. It's been game changing, but I think it'll be more. It'll be even bigger. To what extent, I don't know, because it changes and you learn every single day. I think for me, and I've been in the industry now for a long time, you never stop learning. And yes, my time in my decade or 12, 13 years away from M&S demonstrated. But the new CEO in M&S has come on board, and he has really driven the business in a very different way. And he's fixed a lot of the things which are wrong. And now they are almost back to where they were all those years ago, because they were the first in the UK 1 billion profit company. And they lost a lot of that because they stopped listening to customers. But all of that, he has changed that. And for me, over the years, I've worked with some amazing leaders, and you cherry pick from each leader about what you think is right and what is not. And I think providing you do that and you learn from these people, then and then you continue learning, then I think that those are the important criteria.
Absolutely. I mean, always being open-minded and learning from different people, different cultures. It's definitely inspiring and essential in today's world. I mean, you have also been across, from a Western, a European country with a very long history to other countries in the East, than in the Middle East, than in East Europe and everything, Russia. So definitely cultures that are not all similar at all, right? And they have a lot of nuances and a lot of approaches to life and to business. So that's definitely one of the things that probably still AI will have some time to catch up on, right? All this part is not hard coded into a model, into a model.
I mean, small examples, on AI, instead of spending hours on job descriptions, because we're a new business, right? I'm looking for people. I need a job description. I put in the framework and it does it for me in minutes. So, it just gives you so much extra time and you can be so much more efficient. So it's simple, but very effective.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree, right? I mean, that is definitely a very enhancing tool. We are seeing, as we are also a technology company. Actually, we are a technology first company, right? So we're proud of our technology, our systems and everything. So the efficiency that we have been getting into like also coding, what the speed at which we can develop with the same team actually gave us much better capabilities of being faster and develop more features that are important to our customers. So definitely the first real impact that is tangible to everyone is efficiency and freeing up the agenda to do the things that matter the most. But we'll see. Very curious about the journey of Clara in the Middle East and beyond, and the journey of Locad in the Middle East and beyond, and how also this journey will be supporting each other, growing together in the past years and decades, hopefully. And very exciting to talk to you, Simon. Really humbled by your experience, and looking forward to continue our cooperation and continue to learn from you as well.
Thank you, and I enjoyed the conversation, Dario. But you have to help us crack the US.
Yeah, for sure.
This is
We
a
are
big
ready
one.
for it. We are ready for it. Yeah, absolutely. We are ready. Thank you. See you soon, Simon.
Take care.
Much.
Thank you for
Have a lovely day. Thank
and
you.
you. Bye bye.